with conservation, and indeed the Kenya government did place a ban on the logging in various forests across the country, and this has been met with a number of various reactions. Well, right now let me bring in a gentleman who is with the Kenya Forest Working Group just to walk us through some of the key issues that continue to define this debate on logging. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. So my name is Jackson Bambayo for Kenya Forest Working Group, and here we look at issues with the conservation and management of forests, guided by the law, which is the Forest Act of 2016. We also have a number of acts which are also linked with the forest. For instance, the Wildlife Act, because some forests are double gazetted in the sense that we have Kenya Wildlife Service and Kenya Forest Service manning these areas. So with the logging ban, I guess we had the 90 days, then an extension, then another extension with 60 days. This one means that we are unable to access forest products from community and public forests, not the private forest. Community and public forest. So it means we cannot do the logging, and it means we also have to look at the 4 pillars of this country, which basically we talk of the infrastructure, the food security, and the housing sector. In terms of our households, we also need to look at energy.
All right.
In terms of energy, you'll find that most of our schools, institutions, and hospitals, the polytechnics and universities, they depend on firewood or fuelwood to do the cooking and also to ensure that students remain in school. This has been impacted negative in the sense that they cannot be able to get cheaper fuelwood because they have to source for fuelwood from other private farms. Or if they have woodlots, then they have to get from their woodlots, which all the same translate to high costs. We also have things to do with job cuts.
Before you go into job cuts,
yes,
allow me to understand this, because environmentalists are very excited about the ban on logging. They're claiming that this will see Kenya redeem its forest cover, which has been dwindling over the years. And from where you stand, you are raising pertinent questions around accessibility of the product, but haven't we already overexhausted our forests?
Okay, forests, if we look at keenly, we've been on the increasing trend because we had 1.2% in early 2000. Right now we are in 2018. The forest cover is at 7.4%, which means is an increase from the old to current one. And it means we are also progressing as a country in terms of investing and reinvesting in the forest sector. And this is also attributed to the fact that initial computation, when we were doing forest monitoring, they did not capture the issues with forest and trees within the community land, which is also one of the things that has boosted this forest cover from 1.2% to 7.4%, which we currently enjoy.
All right.
Then we also have a number of reforestation programs which have been initiated by the government and the civil society. Yeah.
Of course, we are targeting Kenya to be at 15% forest cover, so 7.4 is still falling short of the desired numbers. But let me just pick your mind on what is the best solution going forward in this particular conversation, because on one hand we would like to have our forests, which has a big impact on the ecosystem, on the water towers, issues of conservation, and even tourism and wildlife. And on the other end, we need to address issues that communities are facing, where they cannot access firewood, they cannot access the trees to be able to perhaps process timber. What would be the sort of middle ground for this conversation as we wrap up?
Okay, first of all, you must understand that forest is one of the community-based natural resources that we enjoy, and managing these resources through community regimes where we avoid the government-owned type of command and control. We need to have communities in the sense that they need to participate, their voices need to be heard. Leadership has to be looked at, and issues with governance has to also to be looked at, so that we have communities owning the resources, accessing, and they have decisions over these resources.
All right.
Yes.
And as the Kenya Forest Working Group, I just want to get what's your way forward and what's your stand on this?
One of them is that the community institutions, the associations as per the acts, the Forest Act, the Wildlife Act of 2013, and the Water Act of 2016, the Climate Change Act, this has provisions for community associations. So the community associations needs to be strengthened. By strengthening them, we allow them to have control over these resources, and at the last, they'll be owning the resources, which they'll also be able to reap benefit, and they'll be able to enjoy the benefits that accrue from these resources. Without the benefits, the communities will not be able to enjoy. And lastly, the government should ensure that they establish the Forest Conservation and Management Trust Fund, where the communities can reinvest and also get access to financial services.
All right.
Yes.
Quite a pleasure speaking to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
We hope to see some sense of balance in this conversation on whether to lift the ban. If you're lifting it, what are the conditions? Many thanks for speaking to us.
Sure.
Well, that's just a conversation delving in on the ban on logging that has been on in the country. We've seen various quarters coming out claiming that their businesses are being affected and that the government should reconsider its stance on this. We'll definitely continue to be having such conversations here on the program.